Thanks to all of you that are using our discount. So if you want to save money on your eShop credit to buy any of these games, you can go over to switchup.gg. There's no actual code. You just get 5% in cashback on anything you spend on there. So if you buy your credit there, you get 5% off. You still get your gold coins. And we get the tiniest of little kickbacks from Nintendo. Happy days. Cool, it's been a busy old week. I hope you've had a good one. I have been working hard over here with Glen. We're both absolutely shattered. But I'll tell you one thing that waits for no man. No, it's not time. It's actually sales. So we are going to go over the best sales this week on Switch. There are some tasty ones, and if you'd like to win a free game, please do leave your comments down below, and you'll win one, like this person right here. There is still someone, I think it's from the last sales video, who hasn't claimed their free game. We can't have that. So if you're that person, make sure you claim it. Otherwise it's going to go into the ether and be recycled for another Barjan week. Alright, what are the best games on sale? Well, let's find out. First up, we've got the 1-1 Sword 7 Mystic RPG Bundle, which is the base 1-1 Sword 7 game, as well as the DLC, and that's 25% off, which is the cheapest it's been. I really enjoyed this. Imagine like an Oriental Witcher. Am I allowed to say it? I don't know if that's not politically correct or not. I'm sorry if it isn't. I'm just an ignorant fool. But that's exactly what it feels like. You play as a main protagonist who's trying to save his sibling. I'm pretty sure it's his sibling. I thought it was his sister. Or is it his kid? Oh man. Whoever, you're trying to save her. She basically, like right in the first seconds of the game, something bad happens. And then a deity offers her solution and you're trying to fulfill that request. It's got very fast-paced combat, a semi-open world, side missions as well. It has, like The Witcher, it has a game within a game, so you've got this like kind of version of chess where you're heading towards the center. It's very cool. Very good game actually. The only thing, the Switch version's a little bit muddy, but it still runs okay. I do have a full review of this one if you want to go check it out, but I was pleasantly surprised and enjoyed it a lot. A thanks to P-Cube, who have sponsored this episode with their new game Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire. This is a narrative-driven RPG with an interesting twist in that you're controlling a fleet of airships.
Yeah, you take the role of Glen Windwalker, good name that, as you assemble your team of pirates and fight against the Alliance. You'll fight adversaries within the open blue skies in strategic turn-based dogfights, tactically planning your attacks and adapting your strategy to the ever-changing scenarios.
I really like the idea of turn-based combat within that arena, it's nice.
Yeah, and on top of that, as your role as captain, you'll have to discover new towns and cultures and gain support from locals and their loyalty to help you along the way.
Yeah, and in that regard, it'll have you walking around outside of the vehicle, as Glenn said, around those towns, performing quests and things. It just looks like a really nice mix, this one.
Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire will release on the Switch on the 9th of October, and prices will be on your screen as we speak.
Yeah, this one's a 3.9 gig download. It is single player only. Once again, a big thanks to P-Cube with Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire for sponsoring this episode. There'll be links in the description if you want to go check it out. If you're a space nerd like me, then Deliver Us the Moon might deliver you the game you want. It is, as the title suggests, a game where you're trying to essentially save the moon. The moon is the last source of energy. Basically, what they've done is they've created like a power generating source on the moon, and that's become the main source of life for the whole of the Earth. But then that's gone offline and it's stitched everyone up. So you're heading out there to try and figure out what's happened and deliver them the moon. It features a bunch of puzzles, a kind of eerie atmosphere. Performance is the main weakness on the Switch version, really, and that's the common topic, isn't it, for a lot of these titles? But it's only in a couple of the areas. Some places, like the interior locations, are fine. It's just that exterior. Whenever it's doing like heavy lighting effects. There have been a couple of patches for this one as well, so I will do a revisit actually. I'm doing a massive all patched up video at the moment. There are so many games, like the Plucky Squire is way better than it was at launch, but you'll never hear about it from a lot of outlets that slammed it because they just don't do that. So yeah, we're going to go back and revisit those things. But this one, 30% off, well worth considering. As is WaveTale. Now WaveTale is down 75%. Yes please. Now this is basically an adventure game where you're skating across the surface of the water. You're moving towards a specific target. It does have some like rudimentary combat system in there as well, and there are times where you leave the water and you go onto little islands and collect certain things. I love this art style and I love the free-flowing nature of the game. It's just quite short. I'd be a bit remiss to suggest it at full price, but at 75% off, It's certainly a lovely little time. Has a great soundtrack, has a good ambience to it, and I think, yeah, this will appeal to quite a few people, this one. Shotgun King. Now this is a lovely little hidden gem that we covered on the channel a while back now, but it combines a roguelite with a game of chess. Now I've recently been learning chess actually, because I mean that sounds, I don't know if that sounds super nerdy or what, but I help out with like a youth group, and one of them was like, hey, do you want to play chess? And I was like, yeah, okay. I can play chess, and he absolutely demolished me, and he's basically demolished me continuously. And I thought, you know what, like that's pretty sad, isn't it? Like I should know how to play chess, so I went to learn, and there's so much more to it than I thought there was. Like I don't know what I thought, but I didn't think it was as tactical, I didn't think it was as fast paced. I've got to say, chess is quite an exciting game. So yeah, I've been learning, I've beaten him once now, and it's just yeah, I can see why they combined these two seemingly very juxtaposed ideas, like a fast-paced roguelite, shotguns and chess. It actually works really well. Go check out our video, it's 30% off at the moment. Trinity Trigger, yes. If you have kids, I'm actually classing this one as my kids pick this week. If you've got kids and you want to get them into RPGs, specifically like JRPGs, action RPGs, this is a great shout because this has 3-player co-op. So while the storyline and things are quite simplistic, the triggers have these special powers, you're moving throughout the world, meeting other triggers, and I don't want to spoil the story because it's JRPG and that's the bread and butter. But the fact that you each can control someone separately and do those boss fights, it's worked really well for us. Some of those bosses are a bit long, like you're there just whittling away, it takes ages. But the overall game, I like the different areas, I really enjoyed this one. Trinity Trigger at the moment is down 60%, that's the cheapest it's ever been. So yeah, if you're after either just a simplistic action RPG for yourself, or you want one that you can play with a friend or a partner, this is a good choice. Then we have possibly the most unique Souls-like you'll find on any platform, and you may not have heard of it. It's the last hero of nostalgia. With a title like that, as you can tell, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek in terms of the way it presents its story and narrative, but it actually has some solid Souls-like gameplay in there. You'll look at it and go, what on earth? And then you'll pick it up and go, oh, okay, I know how to play this. And it actually does that side really well. So if you're after a Souls-like that takes things in a very different direction, I would really recommend this. I don't think anyone covered this. We didn't even get a video out for this one when it launched, but it's okay. It did have a couple of patches again. Performance can be a bit iffy in certain places, but overall, you know, it's playable, and at 50% off, again, I think this is the cheapest this one's ever been. It's a great time to pick it up. Now, Rise Eterna War didn't come out long ago at all, it's only 33% off, but the base price is so low. This is like Fire Emblem Lite, so if you like that tactical gameplay, it kind of feels like, yeah, I can't really think of a good analogy, but it's like the light version of Fire Emblem. In that regard, it doesn't have the same depth of choice and, you know, emotive response from the player for the things and decisions that happen, but it's good enough, it's quite decent actually, the combat's fun, just don't expect, yeah, this is... This is more of your shallow stream than your deep river, but it's a shallow, exciting stream. I don't know what I'm talking about. At 33% off, not a bad choice. Now we've got a bundle for you right in the middle here, and it's the Commandos 2 and 3 Remastered double pack. That's 40% off, that's the cheapest it's been. These are great games. If you never played Commandos 2 back in the day, oh man, they're just so good. Now, obviously on Switch you have to deal with not having a mouse and keyboard. You've got to use the controller. There's a little bit of a learning curve there, but actually with Commandos 3 they did a much better job with the UI. It was actually much more easy to control and made more sense. But once you've got the hang of them, they're still absolute classics. You can essentially see where all the enemies, like field of visions, are. Each of your commandos have different skills and abilities, and you have to use them strategically to try and meet an objective. I still think these are some of the best strategy games I've ever played, and I don't know why we haven't had more like it. Maybe people just don't have the patience for this kind of stuff anymore. I don't know, but for whatever the reason, like, we need more like this. And at 40% off, I know there'll be a few of you out there that maybe didn't even know these were on Switch that'll be like, man, yes, I will be buying those. If I didn't already own them myself, that would be me. Now the Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster were great additions of classic JRPGs, and they're down to their cheapest ever price. Now, as is so often the case, isn't it? They launch these re-releases and you're sat on the fence going, well, I love that game, but there's no way I'm paying that price. And I'm sure, like me, a lot of you just wait for the sale. So this is down to its cheapest ever price. It's finally down to something that's worth looking at. They look great. They've actually done a very nice job with the upscale. It looks nice and clean. And they have cracking storylines as well. So if you're after a new JRPG fix, maybe you haven't played these, consider the Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Now, while we didn't cover it on the channel, I'm sure old Jordan over at SwitchWatch must have covered these. He loves his JRPGs, whether it was on his channel or on the main one. But certainly, for the price they're asking, yeah, you can't go too far wrong at all. I'm kind of going at a decent pace this week. You can probably tell because there's so many games in this list. Poor old Asdin's there editing. His fingers are probably like melting. Thank you, Asdin. By the way, it's Asdin of Grinning Wolf Games. You should go check out his channel. He's a legend. And he helps me out with these sales videos when we have an extra video in the week. And then I do the one like midweek. Next up, one of my favourite games actually of this year is Conscript. This is the digital deluxe edition, so it's down 25%, which doesn't take it much cheaper than the base edition. It comes with a few little extra bits and bobs, and honestly, if that was most other games, I'd be like, yeah, you just don't, come on now, just reduce your base game. But this guy, one, it's like a very small indie developer. Two, they just did a cracking job with this game. It's brilliant. It's a survival horror set within the French, I think it's World War I trenches, and it carries such a melancholic, but also, when sometimes you play a game and it kind of recreates that feeling of, I don't want to say anxiety because that has such a negative connotation, but it actually makes you feel, I guess that anxiety, the anxiousness that they're trying to portray based on like the severity of what they're depicting, which here is World War I, and it's grim. Those trenches are grim, and this is just a brilliant game. Really lovely art style. Very brown, obviously, you're in a trench the whole time, but also really harrowing. You come across an enemy soldier that's like laid out on the ground, and you obviously can put them out of their misery. There are lots of puzzles and things, very Resident Evil in that regard, but just a solid experience. Really enjoyed it. So I'm recommending the 25% digital deluxe edition, almost just to say support this developer. Like, they've done a great job. I enjoyed the game, and I don't think that's a bad price to ask. Alan Wake Remastered redeemed himself, didn't he? Launched like an absolute turd when it came out on Switch, and now it's half price and it actually runs the way it should. Is it blurry still? Yeah, it's a little bit blurry, but it's a very dark game, isn't it? Most of it's just in pitch black with your little torch. It's still a classic. I played through Alan Wake 2 recently, and man, I think they really did a great job. They really, man, it's a good game. That's the kind of stuff I'm hoping for on Switch 2. The thing with this whole hardware argument is, you can say, look, we've got this game on Switch, and that's fine. But there are a lot of games that require that processing power that I would love to be able to play in a handheld format that isn't on my Steam Deck. I like the Steam Deck, but I do think it has limitations. Things like the heat. It gets very hot, it's very big and bulky. I need that kind of middle ground, and I still love using my Switch for handheld over my Steam Deck. So if they can kind of find the best of both worlds and give me that performance with that cool, long battery life, I'm going to be a happy man, and games like Alan Wake would be perfect for it. Finally then, we have our hidden gem for the week, and it is a new RPG that feels like an Atelier game with a real slice of humour. It's a remaster of a classic, or remake of a classic I should say, that was on mobile, and it's Witchspring R. We did a full dedicated video on this the other day, and it was basically titled "No One's Talking About This Game and It's Amazing," something like that. And it wasn't clickbait, genuinely no one's talking about this on Switch. I haven't seen any coverage of it, and it's amazing. The storyline's cracking. This witch is hilarious. She's an absolute savage. When you have to go around and get ingredients for your potions and that, like in the Atelier game, she's like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. She's going down, clicking her heels, the sun's shining, the rabbits are what noise do rabbits make? Oh man. The rabbits they're not chirping, hang on. The rabbits are singing and they're dancing around the fields, and the birds are chirping and everything's happy. In Witchspring R, she runs out into the field, pulls out her little magic blasting spell and shoots the rabbits in the head. And then when she goes to because you can tame animals as well, it has that Pokemon side to it. Don't sue them, Nintendo. You can basically there's this boar and it's getting taken away by a bird, and she just fires a fireball fireball into his face. You're like, my goodness, this girl's savage, and she's laughing the whole time. You're like, there's a certain manic craziness to her that I enjoy thoroughly. This is awesome. So yeah, really good game, good turn-based combat, enjoyable world. Go check out our dedicated video of that one if you're interested, but loved it. It's a hidden gem in my opinion. It's down 15%, which might not be the biggest drop, but if you're after a full price, pretty much, very good new RPG, then consider Witchspring Art. Our Savaloys selection this week. Our Fed Cooks, our Costco hot dogs. Hang on, it's not Costco, is it? Oh, I don't know, and I don't really care. But our cheap dishes. We've got our Trouberbrook, which is a lovely adventure game that was all like handmade. I think they made it all out of cardboard and then like took photos and used that for the backgrounds. That's down 96%. It's less than £1. That is an absolute bargain. You literally can't buy anything for less than £1 anymore, can you? Like, what can you buy? Do you know what? I actually just rang someone up and I was like, can I, like an online retailer, I was like, look, can I just come and get the thing? Because I saw where they're based, and they're like, we're not a shop. And I was like, yeah, but can I just come and get it? You know, you give me a discount, you get your money straight away, everyone's happy. And they've accepted, so I need to leave in a few minutes. It's not related to Trouberbrook, but I thought I'd tell you that. That's my little point and click life adventure I'm going to go and do. Do you ever feel like that? Like you've played so many games that sometimes you feel like you could solve things in the same way. Like I genuinely do, and sometimes it actually works. So yeah, 96% off at Trouberbrook, happy days. Slayin' 2, this is a nice little 2D adventure, it's 75% off. Don't be fooled by the visuals. Well, I say that, this one actually looks alright. The next little Savaloy, man, the quality's not quite up to par, but it's still really fun. But Slayin' 2 is 75% off, as I say, I think that's the cheapest it's ever been, as is Luckslinger. Now this is like a side perspective 2D adventure, but it's also got a bit of action in it. It's really fun, and I love it when the game looks like a Spectrum title and then you're like, wow, this is really cool. And at 80% off, it cost me absolute peanuts, so I picked it up. I haven't played a great deal, but I enjoyed it. So that's it this week. There are 15 games there, I think, in total. It's probably more than that, actually. I might have added a couple of extra cheeky ones in the middle there. Sorry, Asdin. Thank you to our Patreons, our members, all of you that enjoy the content. If you want to save yourself some money, as I said at the start, use code, there is no code. Just go and buy your eShop credit over at switchup.gg. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya! Oh, my voice is back. I've had like a bad throat for weeks. Yeah, decent.